I'm Craig Williford, and today I'm going to be talking about the NOx setup for 2B Technologies. And what the NOx setup is comprised of is Model 410, which is a nitric oxide monitor, a Model 401, which is an NO2 converter, and how they work together and how to set them up, and basic service for them. Hi, this is Craig again. Hello, how are you doing? This is Craig. I'm going to be talking about the setup of the Model 410. So if you have a Model 410 and you're not using an NO2 converter with it, the setup would be this. We ship a serial cable and a little gray box with the instrument. So the serial cable is a female-to-female ended serial cable, and it's straight through. Most of the cables that you buy at Radio Shack or electronics stores will be crossover cables, and it's really important that you have a straight-through cable because it won't work. What the straight-through cable does is the transmit and receive are the same on either side, whereas a crossover will actually cross the two over. It's essential to use this little gray box, which on one side says computer, the other side says monitor. So very simply, the way to connect this to your PC to view the serial data, attach one end where it says computer to your serial cable, attach the other end of the gray box where it says monitor to the back of your monitor here, attach this end to your computer. If your computer has a serial port, which most don't, which is why we ship this with it as well. This is a USB serial cable. One end will either be a male end like this that you see, serial cable. If it has a female end, we'll ship a little gender changer, and that will come with everything. The other end is your USB port. So I'll show you real quickly how to do that. So we'll plug this right into the USB, or the serial end. Plug this into your USB port. It'll ask to install it. The USB converter does come with an installation disc. So as you would install any USB device, you just put the disc in and install it. So once it is installed, you have to know the COM port that it resides on. And that can be found through the control panel. If you're using Windows XP, this will be very helpful. If not, they're very similar. So you're going to go into the control panel under System. You're going to look for Hardware. There's a tab here that says Hardware, and a button that says Device Manager. In the Device Manager, you'll look for Ports, and right there I can see Prolific USB serial COM port, and in parentheses it says COM4, so that's the COM we're going to use. Now it'll assign to whatever it wants. It's not always going to be COM4. It could be COM8, COM10, COM1. Close that up. And you use either your 2B data display software that we provide, which I'll open up to show you how to use, or you can use Hyperterminal or TerraTerm, whatever you're comfortable with using, but we recommend using our software to collect the data, serial data from this. Open that up, turn it on, and it will enter the warm-up mode, which is a 20-minute warm-up. If you decide to bypass that, the ozone generating lamp won't be warmed up and the heater won't be warmed up. But if it's already been warmed up, which ours has conveniently, we can skip through it by pressing this button. Now, it goes through a parameter adjustment mode, which sets the flow rate, it sets the ozone generation, which are all vital to making the last part of connecting the nitric oxide monitor to the NO2 converter is using a connector tube like this. One end, both of the ends have bulkhead fittings. So we will connect the first end to the NO monitor, screw it on nice and tight. The other end will go onto the outlet of the 401. And this is Craig again, and I'll be talking about setup for the NOx system, which is the 410 and the 401 together. So, with the NOx setup comes 2 serial cables. One is a female to female ended cable, straight through as opposed to crossover, which you can get at most stores and which you'll never know you have until it doesn't work. So make sure it's straight through. And we have a male to male ended cable, straight through. Both of them have to be straight through to work. We have the USB to serial cable, which you will use if you do not have a serial port available on the back of your computer or on wherever on your computer. We do not need this. This is a converter box, which is used when you're just using the nitric oxide monitor without the NO2 converter. If you use this, it won't work. Okay? So, first, I'll show you. This is the NO2 converter, this is the nitric oxide monitor, so I'm going to turn both of them on. And the first cable, which is our male to male cable here, male to male, you can see there's little pins inside here. Doesn't matter which end goes first. You're going to plug one end to the monitor, and plug the other end to the 401 where it says NO monitor. It's the bottom connection, the only one that this will actually fit in. Then this cable, which is the female to female cable, goes into the top port on the back of the 401. Plug him in. Then I'm going to use the USB to serial. Now if you have a serial port available, just plug it into the back, which I do have one, but I'm just going to show you how to use this. Plug it in. Plug the USB end to the USB. Okay, we're going to use on this computer to pull the serial data in our 2B Technologies data display software. Click on Settings. You go to Select Device. From the drop-down menu, select Model 410 with Molly. Molly converter is this guy, we call him the Molly. Sometimes. So, okay. Go back to Settings. Click on Connection Settings. Now, there's 3 choices here. Normally, if you do have a serial port on the back, it's COM1. I have 3 choices. I don't know which one is the correct port, so the only way to figure it out that I know of is to go into Control Panel, click on System, and this is for Windows XP users. The other operating systems are very similar. After you go into System Properties, click on Hardware, and go into the Device Manager. In the Device Manager, just click on Ports, and under here we see Prolific USB to Serial COM port, and in parentheses COM4. So now we know what COM port we're using. COM4. close everything up there. Select COM 4. Baud rate is 4800. Parity none. 8 data bits. 1 stop bit. That's already there by default. Click Save. To start collecting the data, we just click Start. It'll ask you to name a file. Comes up with a default name. I'm just going to click Save because I know where it's being saved. Now that's just a text file. It's just going to keep all the data that comes in. Once we start actually going into parameter adjustment mode, it's going to dump all the data in that text file. You can refer to that data for any troubleshooting or anything else. If you need to send it to us for us to look at it, you can send us that file. So when the data comes in, it'll go into the buffer. There's a buffer tab here, which is pretty much like TerraTerm or Hyperterminal, so you can see all the data that comes in. Now you notice on the NO2 converter, since we turn it on, it's warming up. It has to get to the set point of 325 degrees. It's just warming up the molybdenum converter, which is what converts the NO2 to NO. On here, we're still warming up, and you do want to wait a full 20 minutes in order for it to work properly, but we're going to skip through it for time-saving purposes here. So by pressing the button here, skipping into parameter adjustment mode. And we'll talk about parameter adjustment mode in the next section.